How's it going, everybody? How do you like the new music that we started with? Our guests can't hear it.
It's the second,
but it's
third
fading
episode
in.
that it's on.
It just faded out.
Oh, you're
There it
asking
goes.
them. You're asking the listeners.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm not here to talk to
So
you.
you're asking me. I was like, I don't.
No, I want to sit here and talk to myself for
How
a
do
little
you
bit.
like that
I just
new
wanted to
music
get
that you
feedback
can't
from
hear?
you guys directly afterwards. It's vain. It's just a vanity machine for me and
We
Wyatt.
should just talk over each
Yeah.
other the whole time.
Let's say who we're with here. We're with a real life.
Anyways,
power couple.
yeah. Do you guys? Hi, I'm Maddie.
I'm Andrea Chahayed.
I'm JD.
And I'm Wyatt.
And
Thanks for
we're-
tuning
yeah.
in this week, everybody.
There it is. This
So-
is like a really awkward start.
Aren't you guys supposed to introduce us with like a
no,
whole
we're just
list of
going
our
around the room.
accomplishments?
Well, we're just not that prepared here,
Yeah,
JD.
just kidding.
Is it douchey that I said my last name? I don't
No,
know.
No, that's how you need to
No,
introduce
that's
yourself.
how no, because then people need to really. I'm gonna take off my sweater here, but I think
Yeah.
people need to be able to fucking find you, right?
People
That's
people
right.
need to know who
That's
you are.
true.
Yeah.
And then like, wouldn't you? Your real name is like Swoon, right? Like that's
Swoon,
your.
yeah.
Is it Swoon like
That's
you or
my
just
birth name.
Swoon?
No, it's Swoon. It's just Swoon.
Sorry.
Swoon
That's
like
right.
you is just a handle.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
But it's okay. I don't blame you for thinking that.
So
But it's
let's
just
say
Swoon.
why we know you guys. You guys are producers, artists,
Yeah.
kind of a dynamic duo.
producer,
in that
artist.
fact.
Andrea is an artist, singer.
Yeah. Singer,
Songwriter.
songwriter.
Yeah.
Immensely talented, the two of you
Thank
guys.
Definitely.
you.
Immensely
much.
fucking talented. I think every time I hear Andrea sing, especially in a live setting, I'm first enchanted and then kind of just like, well, no, I think it's backwards. The first thing I always think is I don't understand how you're so in tune and like so on pitch.
Yeah,
and your tone is
definitely.
always so fantastic in a
I think
live
the
setting
same
or
thing.
in a recording setting too. And then I'm just like, and then it just kind of very kind of seamlessly fades into me just kind of being enchanted and crying usually. Usually
Wow.
one or
Wow.
two tears.
That's not even like an exaggeration because I've seen it.
No, I've
That's no
teared up.
exaggeration.
Well, at
Are
the
you
first,
serious?
at the first,
I've
no, at the
seen it.
first live show, I literally
oh my
teared
gosh, I
up.
remember that. You
Yeah.
told me after.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It was beautiful.
Yeah,
it was.
I saw it.
I was so proud of you. It was amazing.
Oh,
Yeah,
thank
no.
you, Daddy.
Yeah, it's good.
So
shit.
how long have you guys been doing what you're doing?
Fucking?
So, well, we'll get to that later, JD.
Sorry.
No. We're going to start with Andrea. You need to be quiet for a
Sorry,
minute.
I got my speaking privileges revoked.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It was
Give me the
worth it. It was
microphone.
worth it.
Well, I mean, I've been doing music for a long time. Well, I've known that I wanted to do music for a long time.
When did you start singing? Like when you were a little kid?
Yeah, my parents put me in singing lessons at 6 years old.
Okay.
And it was my decision. I remember like my mom would always put music on in the living room and we would dance to it. And when I was little, one of my favorite artists was Shakira, actually, because I thought it was exactly But I thought it was cool that we kind of are similar. We have a similar
Racial background.
Yeah, background. So she's, I think, is she Colombian?
She's Colombian and Lebanese.
And
Yeah.
I'm Argentinian and Syrian.
Oh, nice.
So that was kind of
Fuck
cool,
yeah,
like,
bro.
because she kind of mixes the Arab and
And then the Latin.
the Latin
The
world.
two cultures.
Yeah, so that
music,
was
yeah.
like a huge inspiration to me.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so that was kind of where it all started. Like, she really inspired me to want to be a singer. And then, funny enough, I don't really listen to her music now as much unless I'm like, whatever, at a party or at a club. But
Throwback mood.
Right.
exactly.
Right.
But and then as I kind of got into performing at like school and stuff and getting more into like creative writing clubs and all that stuff, I started writing more. And that was when I kind of found my passion for songwriting. And I kind of grew up singing with my sister Juliana.
Yeah.
So we were always a duo for as long.
That's nice to have around, like someone to sing with.
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
and our voices,
Definitely.
I don't know if you've heard us like speaking at the same time, but
Yeah.
our voices are almost identical.
I know.
Yes.
Which
And
is
you guys
kinda
sound, you blend like so well too. I don't know if it's the way your voices sound or just like your practice, but
Yeah,
it's hard to tell the difference sometimes.
It is. I mean, our speaking voices are a little bit harder to tell apart than our singing voices. We sing
Right.
actually a lot.
She's a little higher.
Differently now.
Sure, her register's a little higher, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm more of an alto, but
Yeah.
so she's she was kind of like we were almost like a duo for a long time, but then after high school I started going a little bit more solo, and then I eventually wanted to start putting out music, and that was when I met JD. At the time I met him, I was actually in school.
In high school?
I was in college. I was going to Pierce.
Yeah.
Okay, nice.
And so while I was at Pierce, I was just like doing my general eds, and I was about to transfer to CSUN to do, I think, like music composition or something like that.
Oh shit, we could have been schoolmates, dude.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait, were you at?
I was at CSUN. Yeah, I did music industry studies. Though.
Wow.
See, that was another option that I was thinking of.
Yeah.
So I almost transferred. I don't remember what year I was about to transfer, but right before, like, I had just barely finished all my credits, JD and I had a conversation about maybe me dropping out of school for a little bit and just trying putting out music with the resources that I had and the skills that I already had attained over all these years of just doing it on my own. And so we kind of just like, I don't know, we kind of just dove into it, and like with the help of our amazingly talented friends and like the people around us who just supported us, we did it. And I mean, our story goes back a little bit beyond that, but
When you started fucking.
Actually, we were doing music first. Yeah, it started with music and then fucking.
Yeah, that's,
Right. Same with me and Wyatt, actually.
Yeah.
Actually, no, that's
It's
not
similar.
true.
I started with fucking with you guys, and then
So JD, how did you get your start producing, making music? When did you know you wanted to do this instead of something else?
well, music in particular, like, it's been a long time. I mean, music's just been like a part of my life, as far back as I can remember, just through my family and stuff. Like, my sister's a drummer. My brother was always like a huge music nerd and was in bands and stuff as well. So, when I was a kid, I was exposed to a lot of music through them and through my mom. And so that was always something that I just, had a passion for, and I was going to concerts and stuff, like, at a young age, sort of before it was really a choice, you know? And then in middle school is when I really started to, like, identify, like, my personality with music, if that makes sense. Like, I got into, like, emo music a lot and all this stuff, and it affected the way I dressed and the way my style and everything. Like, my personality became the kinds of music I listened to,
Right.
And so throughout middle school, I always like tried to like start bands and stuff, but I didn't play any instruments or anything. I just like wanted that. I just liked the idea of like being in a band and wanting to emulate like the artists that I looked up to. So I kept trying to do that, and it never really happened, just because, like, I'd have people talk about it and whatever, but just nothing materialized. And then toward the end of middle school, I met a friend of mine named Johnny, who we had both recently gotten into electronic music a lot, and we had similar sort of taste in terms of like the artists that we loved and stuff. And we would just talk about it all the time. And then one day he told me to come over because he had like a program that to make that music, which at the time, like, I couldn't even fathom like what that meant, because it was like, especially listening to that music is like,
how do they
it's like, you can understand when you're listening to a band, like what it is, because you can watch them do it,
Right.
But when it came to electronic music, I had no idea just even how it was made. So he had a program, and like, he didn't know how to use it either. And so both of us were sort of like, holy fuck, like this is like insane. And so I started. What?
It's daunting.
It is daunting, yeah, absolutely. And like, but also at the time, because we were so young, and it wasn't like we had decided already, like, this is going to be our lives. It was like this is just cool and interesting and different. Like, it wasn't, it could have. It's like I was into other things. I was into like skateboarding and anything else. So it was just a hobby. It was just another like interest of mine. Like, I hadn't really decided like anything concrete, so the pressure was very low. It was easy to just kind of fuck around, and like there was no pressure of making mistakes or having to learn at a certain pace or anything. And we learned pretty slowly. Like it was very, very slow, but it was cool because just the two of us were into it. So I would go to his house on weekends, and we would just sleep over and we'd just fuck around like all for like 2 days straight every weekend, just trying stuff and trying to learn stuff. And whenever he learned something, he'd teach it to me, and the same vice versa. So before I knew it, like, I was sort of already getting better at it. And then I started realizing like, oh, I think I could actually do this like for a living. Like, this is actually something that could maybe become a career, which I hadn't really thought about before. So it sort of like just happened. Like it was already happening before I could even realize like, oh yeah, like I'm, this is what's going to happen. And so, yeah. And then after that, it just
and you're like at high school at this point when you're starting to learn this like program.
Pretty much
and, like
going into high school. Yeah. Like the summer before being a freshman, before my freshman year.
Yeah. And you guys both grew up kind of in the valley too?
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
Where'd you go to high school?
I went to Chatsworth High School for 2 years and then Simi Valley. And then I ended at OFL, like independent study.
Right.
That's where I graduated.
I just went to El Camino.
Nice. Elko.
Yeah.
Elko. Dude, yeah, for sure. That's dope. Where'd you go to high school? What?
I went to Crespi.
Same.
Good old Catholic high school.
No, I didn't go to Crespi.
Where'd you go?
I went to Van Nuys High. Well, actually, at first, I went to Cleveland.
Oh.
For like the
I
core
didn't know
program.
that.
Yeah. And
Oh, no
I
way.
transferred. 'cause
Wait,
I was
really?
too
I had
stupid.
friends in the core program at Cleveland.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
They're probably smarter than me.
What year did you graduate?
I graduated 2015.
Huh. Oh, well, then
Wait.
I had like Rosie, my friend Rosie is.
Wait,
I don't know if you know her.
Rosie?
She was at the core
Bane's
program in
sister?
Cleveland. Yeah, Bane's sister.
Wait, what? She was in core?
At Cleveland, yeah. But she
And-
was 1 year above you. She's 1 year, she was 2014, class of 2014.
Small world, everybody.
Small world. Small valley.
Oh my God, bro. Yes.
Did you know that? Did you know her?
I fucking I always kind of felt like I recognized Rosie like a
Really?
little bit, but like couldn't place it. And I was kind of like,
That's
I'm
why,
probably
yeah.
wrong. But she was there all 4 years?
Yeah, I think so. I'm
Then
pretty sure.
without a doubt, like I
You would
saw
have, yeah, exactly.
Without
yeah.
a doubt.
Yeah, of course.
That's crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
Damn.
No, that's
now
nuts.
we have something to bro out about. Huh? what were you going to say, Andre?
No, I was just gonna say that's fucking crazy. That's what a
Yeah,
small
yeah.
world. That's
That
I
is
know.
wild.
I always looked at the core kids like, man, fuck y'all.
What is core? What does that mean?
It's like
Core,
magnet.
it's like a magnet program based in like liberal arts and stuff like that. It's like it's very
not-
much
like,
collar.
I'm better than you.
Like you take special classes?
Yeah, you take
Yeah.
special classes.
Yeah, you
No,
have
it's
the
just like
core
college
classes are
prep.
separate.
I would've
Yeah,
never
so
made
it's
it.
like all of like the core classes, like pardon me, your history, your English, and all those different classes are all intro related. Like the curriculum is all linked.
oh yeah.
And like
yeah.
like quarterly or like once or twice every unit, basically, you take what's called an IUE. It's called an interdisciplinary unit exam, where you're given like a prompt based on like the whole unit. And like I remember in like we had like one unit was like China, one was Australia, and it's all interconnected. And you would have to like write this whole essay that like linked all of like the different aspects like of like depending on the question. Like I think probably one of the prompts for China was like some prompt about like Mao Zedong, and like you'd have to relay like history.
Damn.
You'd have to relay some like and reference some a book or work like in it, and then like I think in freshman year there's also like your science was interrelated, and like
Sounds exhausting.
Yeah, that sounds
I
like
didn't
too
understand
much.
any of that
it
shit.
was, and it like I kind of already knew that I was into music at the time, and I wasn't
Right. Yeah.
doing well. I was
Yeah.
getting D's and F's, because I just didn't care. And I
Yeah.
was, like it's not like I was like stupid. I just wasn't doing any of the work.
Right.
Yeah.
And so my dad was like, "We're taking you out, and we're putting you in Van Nuys, where I knew no one."
Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's also.
I
That's all
had
weird.
a similar experience in high school. I mean, not in terms of like being in any sort of other kinds of classes, but just once I knew that I wanted to do music, it was like I didn't care about anything else. Like I didn't care about like what was going on in school. Definitely,
Yeah.
like you know, school was just sort of a social playground, and then
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I was getting horrible grades. Like I was failing everything except like electives. I was failing everything
Exactly.
except like music classes or whatever else. And I even had some classes, like specifically math classes, where it came a point where I wouldn't even like do, like the teacher knew that I wasn't going to do anything, so I would come into class with my laptop and I sit in like every class for the whole hour with my headphones, just making beats, and like
lit, bro.
and then
Honestly.
like they would give me the test, and I literally wouldn't even
Look at
answer a
that.
single thing. I would just draw a picture or something,
Just be like,
and then just
"Bet,
give it
listen
back,
to this, tell me what
and
you
they give me
think."
a 0 on every test. I didn't do a single.
Would they grade it right in front of you, like 0?
They just didn't even. Yeah, it was
They're-
like
they just didn't even
they-
care.
or she would like the teacher. I remember that I would always draw a picture of fruit, like different fruit for some reason, and then she would be like, "Very nice," and then 0.
Oh, that's nice. At least she wasn't an
she
asshole.
didn't care. No, she was really chill. She was
Very
really. I mean,
nice.
she let me do that. She she just kind of realized like, well, whatever. He doesn't care. So
I feel like that's kind of how it goes, and not. I mean, for lack of a better term, kind of how it should be. Like once you find your calling in life, like why even bother with all these other random things
Right,
that are
right.
like distractions at that point? Like,
you know, I was thinking about that. I think the reason is because they want, as a country, they want their population to be more educated than, you know what I mean? Like it's not
Yeah.
about your job. It's about like, it's about like how much of your country knows how to do basic math, how much of your, you know what I mean? Like
it's more like a boasting power.
Yeah, exactly. It's like bragging rights. It's like,
I feel like now it's kind of worked in the opposite way. Cause like here, I mean, there's kind of like, I mean, I'm not an expert at this, by the way, but there's like a like a notion going around that like people in America don't really have any like skills anymore. Like we don't really know how to like fix things or like manufacture things. Like we're just kind of like a bunch of influencers and podcasters like ourselves. And you know, where does that go? Where
I'll teach you how to podcast.
Yeah,
that's a life skill, bro.
Once the economy goes down, at least we're gonna know how to have some conversation.
That's right.
We were just fucking talking about like because all the stuff in Russia is happening right now, and like we were like imagine if our generation got drafted like
right to war. Yeah.
We'd be dead.
It'd be the
well, the thing is, I don't think it would happen.
Yassification
I just think it would.
the U.S. Army.
Yeah. I mean, I just don't think it would happen. Like, I feel like, you know, we would just be like, no,
we're just like, we don't have a dog in this fight. You know what I mean? Like, it's like so irrelevant from our, and we have so many other things going on.
Like, if I was drafted, I'm literally just running away.
Oh my god!
But the thing is, I feel like
everyone else.
Exactly. I feel like everybody in our generation would be like, no. And then there would be like riots, or there would be like fucking, you know, like protests. That's the right word.
I think people are just kind of like less likely, and I mean, I think there's a part of it where like we like don't have these skills or like grit. I'm doing air quotes. This is not a video podcast.
Sure.
But it's also I think it's also just people are more aware of like. Sorry, what did you say?
I said you better get us back on here when it is a video podcast.
Yeah, it's definitely. You'll be back.
Yeah.
They always come back. But it's sorry. Finish the thought. Don't ever do that again. Oh shit! I almost lost it. I think I lost it.
Okay, here, let me.
No. Now I know. I remember. Okay, I got it. It's also just like I think that people are more aware of like the ulterior motives of the U.S. government or like any government when it comes to fighting a war. Like I think there was this, especially with like World War II or whatever. There's like this. I mean, I think we can just call it propaganda at this point, where it's like, oh, like we're unifying as a country and like you're fighting for the homeland and stuff. And it's like a lot of like you know. Well, like a lot of these wars are like for other.
I think World War II might be a bad example for that, but
No, sorry.
That was kind of necessary.
I get what you mean.
But I was gonna say like the last few wars, maybe starting at Vietnam. I would say Vietnam forward. The generations have kind of seen the ineffectiveness of like just sending people to these other countries and like just having them die and killing people there, and it's like, well, that really didn't accomplish anything. Like there's still all this stuff going on, and now we kind of have the hindsight of that. So our generation's kind of like, well, what you've already done this.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like
and
we've seen how this goes.
And our generation is like the most like distrusting of the government I think ever.
Oh my god!
You know what I mean? Like it's not like I feel like at one point it was like a fringe mentality. Now it's just like everything. Now it's just like it's weird if you like see people who are like pro government. Like it's like you're fucking. That's like, I mean, not to say that they don't exist, because obviously I'm sure there's a shitload of people, and I'm saying this as like, you know, fucking 20-some-year-old living in LA who's like, maybe I'm in just a bubble thinking that, but like I think it's just true. Like people, you know, whether you're, you know, liberal or fucking conservative, like I feel like one thing that everybody shares is like a distrust of the government. Yeah, it's like distrusting everything and distrusting everybody, and like that's why I think the war thing, you know, it wouldn't. Whereas like in World War II, we were talking about that last time too with Andrea, is like World War II was different because first off, people were actually killing themselves because they didn't qualify for the draft. Like people
killing themselves.
Yeah, like because it was so shameful if you weren't going and fighting, and everybody. Honor, it was so like ubiquitous, the feeling of like
love of country.
Well, yeah, right. And like the responsibility, like this is my responsibility. Like this is what my life is for, is like to do this, to fight evil. You know, it's like they really felt like they were fighting against evil. But like you said, like we're so far removed from that feeling now that it's like, you know, I mean, again, maybe if there was like another like Hitler or something today that was more like, that was so black and white.
Was so obvious.
Yeah, exactly. Then people would be like, oh shit, we got to do something about this. But like a lot of the situations that are going on now, it's like, it's sort of like a pissing contest, you know, between like leaders of the countries, and you're like, fuck you, like why am I going to do this for you?
Good.
Yeah. No, I'm not doing that.
Well, we made our mind up about that, guys.
Yeah. We got real political.
Not going anymore.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't like, would we just be in like the U.S. Army band? Like,
Right.
I can't bring my pedal board. Like, how am I supposed
just
to?
how to like fake an injury or something like that. Just like, you know, people do that shit. Just
or
break your ankle.
Or
like,
fake a religion.
It's not even enough. You can't even be like, oh, I'm gay. You can't do that
Not
anymore.
anymore.
You have to.
See, no one talks about the downside of. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like no one thought those are the unintended consequences of people being more tolerant.
Yeah, dude.
So I
It's
can't
like,
use
oh,
those.
Fuck, I have to
Serve
now.
Now I have to do this.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Oh my god.
Man, well, yeah. I mean, I think we're gonna watch this war from TikTok.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh my god.
I've already seen videos of like tanks rolling down Ukraine, and it's
Are
like,
you
wow,
serious?
yeah.
I haven't run into that.
That's nuts.
Kind of crazy.
It's gonna be kind of weird watching this on Instagram and
I know.
kinda
Yeah, like you said, the
wow.
Yassification of war
Oh god.
and the military.
Yeah,
I didn't mean it.
kinda.
I didn't mean it. Take it back. Cut that.
Yeah.
It's true.
Hey, hopefully people listen to this podcast in like 6 months or so and think we're like Nostradamus or something. Like,
I know.
we all nailed it.
No, it's true.
We're nailing it.
I
Honestly,
feel like these predictions are pretty obvious ones though.
They're
It's like
pretty
not
informed.
like
Yeah,
they're
pretty
very
informed.
they're vague.
Nah, we're smart.
I'm gonna break it all down right now.
Do it,
The
Daddy.
timeline.
There you go. You've never talked about on the podcast like how you got into music.
yeah. How did you get into?
Because I mean, you know,
I
how
don't
did
do
both of you
music.
get into
Huh?
music?
I don't do music.
Yeah, you're just Leroy's dad full time.
I know. I'm just a cat dad.
Really?
I got into music around high school. I had an electric guitar. My parents bought me guitar lessons when I was like 10 years old, and I really wasn't that interested. I was kind of just like, okay, whatever. And like the guitars just ended up in the garage.
Right.
And so like 4 or 5 years went by, and I feel like I've told this story a couple of times, but I started playing Guitar Hero and Rock Band a lot, like constantly.
Me too.
And
Guitar Hero
I
3?
was like, I think it was Guitar Hero 3,
That's the
yeah,
best
and then
one.
Rock Band 2. I remember Rock Band 2 specifically.
Okay.
And I was playing it all summer long, and I was like, like I have those guitars in the garage. Like, I wonder if I tried to play real guitar.
You're saying those things
And then-
can sound
yeah.
like this?
Yeah. So I was like, I wonder if I could do that like on a real guitar. And so like, and this was kind of like my basis for music at the time. Like my parents were not very into music. Like they really just listened to like basic radio stations. Like
Right. I was gonna ask that. I was gonna ask if your parents.
yeah, there was no like albums like around the house that they were like, you got to listen to this.
Sure.
You know, and it's like. I definitely, if I have kids, like I definitely want to introduce them to music, like
Right.
and show them all this stuff.
Oh,
Sure.
yeah.
So like I was kind of
they're
hearing
cool.
about like all this different music that I'd never heard before in these video games, and I was like, this is pretty dope. Like,
yeah.
so I started learning guitar on YouTube, and then and like kind of got like learned a couple of songs. And then hit up this guy who gave me guitar lessons and like when I was 10 years old. And I took guitar lessons from him for like 5 or 6 months, like learned a few things. And then I don't know, I wasn't really, he was kind of like this neoclassical style like teacher.
Right.
Excuse me. And I really wasn't like super into that kind of style of music.
Yeah.
So I stopped taking lessons from, and I still like am in touch with him. Like he's a great dude and a great guitar player.
What's his name?
His name is Dallas Perkins.
That is such a fucking good name.
That's a
good
really
name,
cool name.
yeah.
That's a good name.
Yeah, his name's Dallas Perkins, and
Love that.
super cool dude, shredder.
Dallas Perkins, dude.
And so I continued just kind of learning to play, guitar from YouTube, and like learning basically just like classic rock songs because that's like what I was kind of listening to at the time.
Right.
And then I met Neil in high school, who's our bandmate now, who plays keyboards, and we kind of like chopped it up and like would jam.
Yeah. Just
and
had
then-
like similar tastes, sort of.
Yeah, similar taste in music. Not even really similar taste. I mean, I think he showed me a lot of music that I hadn't heard. Like he showed me a lot of classical music that I'd never listened to before. That was really cool. That was mostly like piano-based classical music. And then I think from there I just started hanging out with more and more people who like did music and like
Right.
just kind of learned from them and would jam with them, and then kind of just like the rest is history. Like joined bands and played and just kind of met people like Maddie and Edwin and you guys.
Just kind of becomes your life.
Yeah,
after-
exactly. You just kind of get like
just
evolved.
consumes you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's true.
So
That's awesome.
that's about that. Yeah.
How about you, Maddie?
My dad, both my parents were actors. My dad worked at Disneyland for the longest time.
Right,
and
right,
I think like doing like different events and stuff like that, like he would sometimes have to play guitar. Like there was this old show called Laughing Stock at the Golden Horseshoe where they would do like, it was like a bunch of like country stuff, like cowboys and stuff like that. And I think for like a few things he'd have to learn or some songs on the acoustic guitar. So for like most of my childhood, I think, or like, you know, about maybe like 6 or 7, there was like, I just started noticing like a guitar around the house.
Right.
Or 2, I think. One of them got like busted up and totally broken. But I remember just kind of picking up some stuff, and we had this neighbor dude that like lived in the complex. It was like this like rocker dude that like gave guitar lessons, and my parents would like pay for me like I think I only went for like a few months or something like that, like every Saturday, and was like, I want to learn Sunshine of Your Love, or I want to learn Smoke on the Water.
Yeah, that's the thing about like that's the kind of thing that kind of got me like bummed about, not bummed, but like slightly disinterested in lessons, is that they're trying to show you this like theory and like this like these like fundamentals, and you're like, I just want to learn how to play like like these songs that I like.
No, totally,
yeah. But all that stuff's necessary. Sorry, keep going.
No, you're chilling. And then I just really fell off of it for a while, and then I guess like around that time, there was like maybe a solid year of like, I kind of know how to play a little bit. I now know how to read tabs a little bit. I'm not crazy, but I can go and like look up like, what was that Sublime song with the little, I can play the guitar.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like looking up that. I was like, tabs for this, and like learning how to do that. And I was just like, whatever. And then I remember in 2008, this movie came out. This like guitar documentary called It Might Get Loud, which had like it featured like Jack White and Jimmy Page and The Edge for some reason. And my dad took me to see that, and I remember like this like particularly watching like all those old videos of like Jack White like playing like live shows with like the White Stripes and the Rack Tours, and I was like, oh fuck, like that's what I'm gonna do. I know right now, like that's what I'm interested in.
Wow.
And then from there, like that was like I got a little bit more into that. It was more about just like learning songs and like figuring like that was a pretty good way to do it. And then like again, it was like periods of like off and on. And then I started being in bands in high school, like when like junior year, like sophomore year. And that's actually when I met Wyatt. I met Wyatt when I was still at Cleveland. And we realized pretty recently on this Yosemite trip that I met Wyatt before I ever met Jason or like anyone else.
How did you guys meet?
Well, we met like at this show. Do you guys know the Guitar Merchant at all?
Yeah,
in Chatsworth?
Oh my god.
Yeah.
She's performed there many times.
I used to perform there like in high school.
Yeah.
Phil, the owner, like.
Or Delane. Do you know Delane?
I don't know. Wait.
I don't even think
he's like the booker, dude. There's another Guitar Merchant now. I saw it. Yeah, it's actually pretty close. To your parents. Sorry, I don't want to dox you, but like by where you guys live, I'm pretty sure that.
Yeah, I know.
That's the one that
Oh, that one that's like right on. What's that one high school? Chaminade. It's right by Chaminade.
Yeah, they moved it actually. But that I used to go to Guitar Merchant growing up. But yeah.
Did you ever have to pay money because you didn't sell enough tickets there? We did.
She would mostly do like...
It was like school events.
Yeah, it was like school events and stuff for her.
Yeah, and actually, I did an event with Carter.
There?
Really?
Yeah, before they knew each other.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was like a Falling Whistles.
Because he also went to El Camino High School. They went to the same high school.
You went to Elko?
Yeah, he did.
Damn, that's
so you guys both went there unbeknownst that you guys were both there? Or?
Yeah, we didn't know
They didn't meet until I met both of them separately and then introduced them.
And
that's really funny.
Which is random.
No, you're
Carter and I are the same exact age.
Yeah, they were born the same day.
Oh, jeez. That's
jeez.
Oh,
man.
Oh, man, dude.
But yeah, no, small worlds.
I'm going to get back to how I got into music, but I just found out, so my older brother, Luke, and I are 12 years apart, and I found out this past week that I was born at 7:43 p.m. and he was born at 7:43 a.m. So we're like 12 years apart and like 12 hours apart, but not on the same day.
Shit.
I wish it was. I wish we were born on opposite ends of the
day.
day.
12 days
really
apart?
Cool.
It's not 12 days apart. It's not. It's
kind of 12 weeks apart?
It
could
not.
be.
It's not.
Oh.
There's some variation.
There's
another
some 12 in there. There's some 12 in there.
Anyways, I'm in some random bands at Cleveland, like playing shows, getting screwed over at the Guitar Merchant by this guy Delane, who's just a piece of shit.
Who, by the way, we don't even know if he really exists, do we?
No, he's honestly he's a figurehead for.
He's just
he's like there's some weird coalition of people trying to ruin the Valley music scene, and he's the figurehead. Yeah. I don't know. Who's to say? Who's to say? Not me. But anyways, I was going to Cleveland, was in some bands. My dad was like, you can't continue to be failing all your classes. And I was like, whatever. I don't care. I'm depressed. And then he was like, you're going to Van Nuys. And I was like, I don't care. Whatever. I'm depressed. And then I met Jason. And I really wanted to be in jazz band. Actually, Jason and I really didn't fuck with each other. Jason plays sax and swells, for those of you who aren't aware.
Yeah.
Did I say swells?
Which is your band?
Sax and swells.
Sax and swells.
Yeah.
No, you said sax and swells.
That's what I meant.
Yeah.
And then I got into jazz band. I started learning some theory. Played a little upright bass in the advanced orchestra.
Wow.
Learning how to read music slightly. I cannot sight read to this day, nor do I care to.
Yeah.
I just go by sound.
It never stuck.
Yeah, fuck all that. I mean, you don't need that shit. It's all.
Yeah, you don't.
Well, but anyways, went to school, studied music businh, and then here we are.
Did you graduate from CSUN?
Yeah, 2019.
Wow, good for you.
It doesn't matter.
Still though, like it's fucking like. It's a fucking trek getting through school, so.
Yeah, it is. I've never used the degree once. So. Honestly, it was great to go to college because I got to meet like a bunch of cool people like Miles and Allie Kelly. And
that's always the best thing about it is the people you get to meet.
Connections.
I always used to say though, like
through school.
I always used to say that too. Like I'm afraid that I'm gonna miss out on like a bunch of like experiences and just meeting people through school. But funny enough, I ended up meeting them anyway. Like I just met I know a ton of CSUN people now, just like through people. Yeah, I don't know. Just
so did you drop out of school?
I dropped out of Pierce. Yeah.
Okay. And how far did you go?
I was there for 2.5 years.
Okay, that was kind of like me.
I kind of took it slow. I just I don't know. I hated fucking stressing about like this statistic test and like everything. Boo. And I was like putting so much work into like the speech for my like debate class, like all this stuff. And I was like, what am I doing with my life? Like I'm not doing any music. I'm just like stressing out about things that don't really matter to me. It's fucking, but I mean, again, like I always say that, but then I'm like, I'm not trying to say it as if you are in school, like you're wasting your time. Like not at all. Like, it's just not.
It's not for everybody.
It's not for everybody. But
it's just the approach that is usually pretty messed up.
We talked about it last week. I mean, it's really about like. It's not about anything really. It's like there's more than one way to do this shit, and it's like if you guys are talented and charming like the both of you guys are, you're not going to find any problems, and you're going to figure out, you're going to be put where exactly. Sometimes you got to like let the universe kind of do its thing, bro. You just got to keep putting your work in. You got to keep putting yourself out there, and like you're going to figure it out. I'm going to fix your mic.
I think I think like in terms of like the school thing, I mean for me in particular, I decided pretty quickly that I wasn't going to go to college. Yeah. But I mean, it was an easy decision to make because my parents didn't have like a college fund for me or anything like that. So it wasn't like, my parents wanted me to go to college. Like they would say that, but it wasn't like this thing where there was already this train going in that direction that I had to like, that if I was going to stop it, it was going to take all this crazy effort. Yeah. Right. It was more just like, I'm just going to have to stand up to my parents and say like, I'm not doing it. And they're going to be upset, but whatever. Like, but
were your parents upset? Was that like a thing?
They were. I mean, again, I don't know that they were upset as upset as like probably a lot of other people's parents would be, which is why I guess my point is that I understand in other people's lives it'd probably be more difficult to make that decision than it was for me. But definitely it took, especially my dad in particular, because he never got the opportunity to go to college because he's an immigrant and all this. Like he was really bummed about that decision that I made, and like thankfully he's the kind of person who like overall respects the fact that I get to make the decision, but so he never like tried to force me, but we definitely had to talk about it like over and over and over and over again for a long time. And even then, like even after he kind of like even after he realized that it was just happening, it took a while before he stopped bringing it up because I told him I want to do music, and at first it's like that doesn't mean anything. It's like it's like a meaningless statement until you actually start showing like I'm doing this. I'm actually doing something. Yeah. So that took a long time. But I think like the problem isn't like school in general, so much as like just the sort of one size fits all approach of school, right? It's like back then, like if you like, it makes sense if you were 20 years old in like the 70s or something. It's like, well, yeah, I mean, college is probably a good idea because it's not that expensive. You're not going to get super into debt.
Flip fucking hamburgers for one summer. It's like, all right, paid for college,
right, something like that, exactly. And and you can buy a home through it, and also like it's way more guaranteed that you're going to get a job at the end of it. Yeah. Now,
exactly.
Now it's like none of that is true. So the option itself has lost a lot of its appeal overall. But then on top of it, it's like, you know, the culture around it of sort of everybody always being like, you're going to college, you have to go to college, like everybody going to college. It's like we're realizing that like, oh no, wait, there's like a million different options and roads. That's just one of them, and that might not work for you. Like, which is good. I'm really glad that people are realizing that, because you know, the problem is always, it's the culture. You know, the problem is like people that go to college because someone else told them they have to, and then they're there and they're like, you know, and it sucks because everybody knows those people. Like every single person, you know, within our, you know, in their 20s or something, knows at least somebody who's going to college and is like, well, you know, I don't know, I changed my major 5 different times and I don't really know what I want to do, and I think I'm just going to end up doing this. And like in the back of their minds, they're like, maybe I'll just get through this so that I can try something else later or something. You know what I mean? It's like,
once I get over this $60,000 of debt that I've accrued to study something that I decided actually I don't really fuck with.
Right. I mean, exactly. That's. I think there's a lot of people, unfortunately, in that scenario, and a lot of the time it's because their parents or people around them think they're doing them a favor by pushing them into it. But
and
it's like,
fucking crazy because it's weird. I just saw a TikTok about this like right before I got here, and it was talking about that, how like it's crazy how America just lets hopeful 17-year-olds like, you know, just like take out a fucking huge loan.
I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing at what you're talking about. Like it's crazy.
Take out a huge fucking loan to go to college
as an adult is
and kind of like hurry up, figure out what you want to do right now, and also like hope you can pay for it. Like
it's absurd.
What the fuck?
Especially with the way like we talked about. It's funny. We talked about like a lot of this stuff last time too. It's
really?
The way the high school is set up is like you're told for the most part like what classes you're gonna take except for maybe like 1 or 2 electives.
Yeah. Oh my god.
And then it's just like you're told all these things, and then all of a sudden like you turn 17. It's like what the fuck? You don't know what you want to do. How do you not know what you want to do for the rest of your life? How are you gonna make a living? How are you gonna get a job? Like how are you gonna raise kids? And it's like, whoa, like
there's so many
and it's weird that it hasn't like changed. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say like I remember there used to be these like Facebook posts about how like look at how much like cars have like changed over time, and like how many things have just developed, like technologies and all that stuff. But school hasn't changed. Like it's just stayed the same.
It's really weird because too like other countries have different like modes of school, and they're like, and they seem to have like a lot more success with it than this way we have it here. Like I feel like we don't see any results really with the system that we have here, and that's just put like so much pressure on kids to like need for them to need to commit to what they want to do, or to have to choose something like super you know, a field that they need to go super in depth with school with, and it's just kind of like it only works like so you know, such a small percentage of the time.
I mean, my dad used to always like growing up tell me about how school was in Mexico when he was growing up, and he was like, in Mexico, when by the time you hit a certain age, by the time you hit a certain age or a certain grade or whatever, you always have this class that's like part of your like core curriculum, and it's like a career class pretty much. It's like you learn about all these different kinds of careers, you learn about all these different sorts of like things that you can do, and you like try them. Like you can try this, you can try that, you try all these different careers. And everybody has to do it. It's like so that by the time you turn like 18 or 20 or whatever it is, you have some experience in like a lot of different fields, and a lot of them don't have anything to do with college. Some of them are like, you know, it could be something as simple as like plumbing or like whatever, or you know, computer stuff or like whatever. You just try stuff, and then you know, hoping that you'll find something that you like, and like, you know, that I don't know that that's necessarily always going to work, but it seems ridiculous that, you know, we don't even have something as simple as that, as like just trying stuff. It's like you can hit 18 and you're like, I've never even tried, I haven't done anything.
And you got to commit like hard to
exactly.
it. Like, it's kind of weird.
You have to commit like your entire life of debt to that.
We just have career day where the army booth is the biggest fucking booth.
There's like, fuck it.
Front and center. It's like, hey, do you mind if we just pay you guys pay a little extra, and we can have like the Marine booth and the Army booth, and that's really the main thing. And it's like like an office building job. Come fucking play real life Call of Duty.
Right. Come play real life. Yeah. Exactly.
No Russian, baby.
It's pretty fucked up. I've always thought that like if I ever got into a position where, you know, if I like accomplish the things that I want to accomplish or whatever,
you'd join the army.
I would just if I ever accomplished all the things that I wanted to accomplish, and I was in a position, you know, where I had money or like whatever, you know, I started thinking at some point like I got to figure out like what I would want to do. Like, what do I want to do with it? Because I can't just have a bunch of money. Like, I'm not. I don't feel like I'm that kind of person to just like keep wanting more or like hoarding it or whatever. Yeah. So, and obviously, whatever, family is a whole other thing. But like I was like I should figure out what do I want to help with? Like, what could I want to do? And I think like what it would be is honestly education. Just because like I just feel like the education system's so fucked that like. I don't know. It just seems like a pretty good place to start to like try to fix some shit, you know?
The ironic thing about it is that like I think that there's like it feels like, I mean, maybe this is not the case, but it feels like people do put so much money into education and it kind of just gets either put into people's pockets or spent in the wrong places because it seems like in the richest states they have like the worst education. I mean, like LA has like the worst public schools and LA has plenty of money, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, and so it's like, where's all that money going to, you know, when these kids have certain things. The other thing I was going to say about other countries is like, I feel like the madness kind of ends a lot earlier. Like in the UK, I think that you're done with college when you're like 17 or 18 years old. So you still have that time left over.
You're done with college?
Yeah. You're done with college at like 17 or 18 years old.
Here, it's like, school.
Yeah, you know, you like, and then you kind of still have like your late teens to kind of like glide through things and like figure more things out. But now it's like, you're done with college like 22, 23 years old. Not that that's old, but it's kind of like
you lost like some pretty
you feel like
youth time.
That's the other thing is like you feel like you're old at that point now. Like you like that's. I mean, this is kind of separate a little bit, but I mean, I think it's relevant. It's just like the culture here, especially in America, is so youth obsessed, and I mean, the world is obviously, you know, like I mean, you know, going back to like times of like people talking about fountains of youth and these kinds of things, like people have always wanted youth, like obviously, but like I think in this country in particular, like especially in the last like 100 years, we've created this culture where like everything is like is youth obsessed, like like being a teenager or like whatever. Like American culture is that is American culture is like teenage years, you know what I mean? And like our economy is so teenage based. I mean, especially in what we do, like in the music industry, it's everything is like
that demographic is fucking crucial.
That's like the only demographic almost, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like it makes sense from a certain standpoint because I mean, I've read stuff about how like after people hit 30 years old, like the percentage of people that continue to look for new music drops like significantly, this kind of stuff. So, you know, maybe there is like a statistical kind of point to that, but I think one of the byproducts of it is that we start to feel old way more quickly, like way sooner.
That's
like
interesting.
Oh my God. Yeah. I fucking, dude, I hit 25 last week and I'm like, I was talking a lot about it with these guys. Like I'm fucking stressed out about it. It did not make me feel good.
No,
it did not.
Dude,
but it's also a mindset, right? Like you kind of have to be like, okay, I'm 25. Like if I want to live to be like well into my 80s at least, like that's relatively insignificant. Like I've lived a lot of life. Like we've had a lot of positive experiences and bad experiences, but like there's a lot more to go. And it's also like you can choose to like, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's like, oh, like you get old and you get slow and you start not being able to do these things, or if it's just like, I don't know, but we kind of choose, I think, what we put into our lives, maybe. And
and I think also like a lot of what we identify with youth is sort of wrong. Like we like, you know what I mean? So then that's why you see people who are like, who get old, who are trying to act young, and it's like, oh, it's like cringy.
Right.
And I think part of the reason is because they're trying to act young in these ways that aren't actually like
natural kind of.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you can be young or you can still have a youthful energy when you're old, but it doesn't mean going and doing like stupid shit, you know what I mean, or whatever. Like you can, you know, so that's why another thing is I think like
anyways, this podcast is sponsored by Jackass or use promo code SWELLS at checkout on Fandango. So what were you saying?
No, I just like that we equate youth with certain things that I think are sort of like dumb, like drinking and like blah blah blah. Like these are things that signify youth, but like I don't think that's actually, they don't really actually have anything to do with youth really per se.
I totally agree. I think
you can be an alcoholic at any age.
Exactly. And it's like it's like that expression.
You need another beer?
Like we got one for you. It's like that expression, like youth is wasted on the young. Like I feel like there's this ignorance to like being young, and I feel like even now as I'm getting like closer and closer to 30, I think it's like I feel like I have my head wrapped around a lot more things that like that, and like so many more things like make sense to me that when I was like younger and like had this like quote unquote like gift of youth, like you're kind of just like spending that entire time just like figuring out what that even means, or like what that, like how that's even special. And by the time it's over, it's kind of just like, oh, okay, you know, now I guess I know what, like, it's like, it's so fun. It's like kind of fun to like hear younger people talk about like their experiences, because because you're kind of like, you're hearing somebody like think or say the same things that you were thinking at that point. And it's kind of like, it's really interesting to see how like your mind grows, or how you know it, and that's kind of like, it's a good thing. Like you were saying, like there's so much pressure on youth, like it should be praised that there's this kind of like wisdom, for lack of a better term, that you gain that's not in youth. And there's this group that's not like, you know, a group of people that's literally trying to figure things out as they go.
That's,
you know,
that's like a big part of the thing too, is like that the culture, because it's so youth obsessed and so like disgusted at age, it's sort of like people forget that
and people are almost afraid to like, they're almost afraid to like mature. Like,
well, and not just afraid to mature, but they're afraid to like, or maybe not afraid, but they refuse to listen to older people sometimes. And it's like, you know, I get it. Like there is sort of an arrogance that comes with youth that sometimes is a positive and obviously sometimes could be a negative. But like, I think people forget how important experience actually is. And so like, you know, like even I think about even like politically, like, you know, like there's a big divide between like age groups, and like the youth tend to be more liberal and et cetera. And like and I'm, you know, I'm younger and I am more liberal, so it makes sense. But like at the same time, sometimes I like see people my own age and I'm like, you're so fucking arrogant to think that at your age right now, you even know what the fuck is going on. Like,
true.
Not to say that you like, not even like, I don't even mean like with the world or like politically or whatever, like per se, you know, but I just mean like, because we're young and liberal, it's like, we feel like this thing like, oh, like they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. We have all the answers and stuff, but it's like, we need to be the thing that they have that we don't have is they're wise enough sometimes to understand that they don't know. You know what I mean? Whereas we aren't wise enough to like,
when you're young,
see what we don't know.
Yeah.
We think we know everything sometimes, and then you get older, and then you're like, oh fuck, I don't know anything.
Right.
You know?
Well, like when you're young,
there's a wisdom. Yeah, there's definitely a wisdom in that.
Yeah, when you're young, you want to like change the world, and you think you have all the answers to these problems. And I think the older you get, the more you kind of realize like, you know, you don't really have a say in the way the world works, and I think that kind of transfers over to like this more like conservative, hands-off kind of like these viewpoints and like
an acceptance of the way things are.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good way to put it.
And you know, they're both, it's like a yin and yang thing, because they're both necessary. Like Tupac I always remember this interview that he has where he's like, talks about like, you know, the youth, like, cause he died really young, and like he talks about how like he's like, I'm young right now and I have the energy and I have the motivation to like be out in the streets like screaming and yelling and like doing all these things. And he's like, you don't see 40-year-olds doing that because they did that when they were young, and then, you know, it gets beat out of them, and then by the time they're old, they're just sort of like trying to live their lives. They're just trying to get through it. Yeah. You know, and he's like, but I would be, you know, remiss if I wasn't doing my part as like a young person doing this shit. Like I should be out there yelling and screaming before it goes away, before I don't have it anymore.
Well, that's a good attitude to have, and you know, hopefully you have it for as long as possible.
Right, exactly. Because another thing, when I was young, I don't know if you guys were like this at all, or what you guys were like when you were in high school or middle school, but all I wanted was to be older. Like I didn't want to be a kid. Yeah, I wanted to be seen as mature, and like I always tried to be like not like, you know, not like the kids, or like not like other kids, or like whatever. And a lot of it was because my family, like my siblings and my cousins and stuff, were always older than me. Yeah, so I thought they were cool. So I was like, fuck, I want to be like that. Yeah. And then looking back now, though, I'm like, that was immature. Like the maturity that I was sort of faking was immature of me, because now looking back, I'm like, I should have just been a kid. Like I should have been cool with being a kid, like, because I was a kid. Like
it was wasted.
Kind of. I mean, you know, I don't regret any of it, but it's like
that's heavy.
It was a waste.
But sort of like, because then I was like, I thought they were cool pretty much only because they were older. Like I would hang out, like when I was like 14, 15, 16, I was pretty much exclusively just hanging out with my siblings and their friends, and my brother's 10 years older, so it was like 24, 25 year olds, people my age right now. And at the time I was like, they're cool, you know. And then I would like go to, like, I almost never, but sometimes I would go to parties with like my friends, like, or my peers, like people my own age, and I'd be like, oh, like you guys are fucking immature, or like whatever. And then I grew up, and then I was like, those people weren't cool. They were just 24. They were just like,
they were just literally 24, and also like, why are they hanging out with a 14-year-old?
Right. They were like kind of lame 24, 25-year-olds a lot of the time. You know, I mean, they were cool. Some of them were cool people for sure, but like, like at the time I was like, you're so like they were so cool to me. And then when I became that age, I was like, they weren't actually very cool at all. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if anything, I was cool because I had like because I was young and I had like all this energy and I had all these other things. You know what I mean? Like,
I had like the opposite experience. I feel like there was a point when I got out of high school that like I started to realize like everyone kind of had your mentality of like you know, wanting to be older, and so they, you know, experienced a lot of things that I didn't experience. Like, for example, I was so used to being the person who had like never had their first kiss and like never like that was like what I was. I don't know. I was just like my thing, and then like it was.
I'm the no kiss. I'm kind of the no kiss girl.
Not so much like that, but like I don't know. It was I don't know. I always would look back and kind of regret not having experience and like not getting experience. But now when I look back at it, I'm like, I'm glad that I had kind of like I don't want to say like innocent, but like I don't know. My parents were always like
reserved.
Yeah, they always just kind of like let me be a kid. And I don't know, my older siblings were kind of a good influence on me in a way. So like, you know, I never really like, I don't know, it was all such a thing for people to go out and like go to the mall. Like that was such a shared high school experience for a lot of kids.
Yeah.
I never did that ever.
Yeah,
really?
Me neither.
I would literally come.
I did that all the time.
I fucking hate. I to this day. Dude.
I honestly,
the mall sucks.
Honestly, I look back fondly on those days. Like,
yeah, no, I'm not saying
not
that it's
now
like a
I would
bad
ever go.
thing
I mean,
at
I
all.
fucking whatever. But
You
like
probably wanna go
at
to
the
the mall
time, I
right
had a
now.
lot of fun. That was like it was like the club. It was like going to the but it was like the club where like everyone I knew was there.
Yeah,
like all my friends from school were
That's
there.
cool.
So
True,
it was like
true.
chill.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, but like, I don't know. I would literally come home after school every day and just fucking play Animal Crossing and like video, just like, you know, watch Vines and like with my sisters. Like, I didn't really have any like friends that I could like go hang out with. I mean, I had friends at school that I would see, and like I had a whole like friend group, but we never like went out. Not until like 11th or 12th grade. My sisters were kind of just like my friends and stuff, and I was like, I don't know. And back then I always used to think like, fuck, I don't know. I feel like I want to be older, and I feel embarrassed that I don't have experience. Like everyone around me is like smoking weed like for the first time, and I don't know, I'm a little bit like afraid to like try. I don't know, but
I feel like that's kind of like a whole nother stigma, is that like all these things in your life have to happen by a certain age.
Right.
Yeah.
I had like all that going around me. I mean, I don't have like specific experiences, but like I know that there was all these things. I mean, about like losing virginity and getting drunk and like doing drugs.
That's
and
why
it's like
I still haven't lost my virginity. Hannah and I
I'm waiting until marriage myself, but anyway, it's like all these things, and it's like that's just like it. Like as you grow older, that's like it ends up being like the most false thing ever.
Yeah,
right.
You
Absolutely.
have so many time. You have so much time in your life to experience different things that this whole thing where it's like you got to do this by this age,
right?
This age. It's so nonsense.
It's true, and it's like it's so arbitrary. And I mean, it kind of comes full circle to what we were saying before. Is like that's just like the American culture. Like every movie about a teenager is like, you're a teenager, you should be out there like sneaking out and getting drunk.
Dude,
and like,
we were just talking about Euphoria before you guys came. I wonder all these like half the kids in my car like talking like during instruction are talking about Euphoria and shit. I'm like,
I know the crazy thing is like I watch it as like my own age, and then I think about like, oh shit, wait, there's kids who are growing up on this shit. That's crazy.
I know
it's because I think that show is really good, but that was nothing like my high school experience.
We were watching it last night, and we were like, are they even going to school? Like at this point, the second season.
It does not. I've only watched a couple of scenes, but what?
No.
It's like you only seen a couple scenes.
I watched the sex scenes. Okay.
Okay.
Why? We'll cut that. But it's just kind of like, dude, like high school is like there's like just like dudes that wear like their pajama bottoms every day, like their Yoshi pajama bottoms, and like there's always just some fucking kid just like asleep by the band room.
And it's also really funny to watch movies where there's like 25 to 30-year-olds playing high school.
Well,
kids.
that's
like
the other
nobody
thing.
in high school looks like
there's
that.
There's not a zit in sight.
Yeah,
like someone needs to have cystic acne on this show for it to be.
Are some of them in their 30s?
Not necessarily. I don't know that necessarily, but
like late 20s or like mid 20s.
I feel like that guy who plays Nate or Fez. I feel like those guys are kind of older.
They are older. Well, Fez, I don't think is supposed to be in high school anymore. But
right, he's kind of just like a dealer.
But I was gonna say like, well, also what it is like every school has like maybe 1, 2, or 3 people who look older, and then everybody else doesn't. But these shows are like they take every one of those people, and it's one school of only those people. You know what I mean? It's like all this like one school of like the hottest people at every other school put together, like, you know what I mean, type thing. You know,
Euphoria. I love all those like this is what my parents would look like if I went to Euphoria High School, and it's just like
the crazy costume,
some crazy fucking outfit.
Well, it's like getting ready for school at Euphoria, and it's just like leotards and like crazy shit.
No, but the thing that's crazy too is that like it is. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm not in high school obviously now, and like I don't know. I don't have like any high schoolers in my family.
Be like that.
That's the thing is like because the other thing that I'm thinking is like
might be
because the other thing is like, dude, how accessible? Because back then, like when I was in middle school, like what middle schoolers were into and what 25-year-olds were into were completely different things.
Right.
And like it wasn't because the internet wasn't so like whatever. And not to say that like that's not the case anymore, because obviously to some extent it is. But it's like if you're in middle school right now, you could watch Euphoria and in the same day look up like a tutorial and go online and buy all the shit that they wear and all this, you know what I mean? Like,
and you're battling your vape addiction at the same time.
And it's nothing new that like high schoolers are taking drugs, but I feel like in this whole like environment that it's kind of like romanticized through social media and through like movies and stuff, that now they can see it and they're like, well, I guess this really isn't like, this doesn't make me that like of an outcast. This is kind of just like what kids do.
Yeah, kind of. Like, I mean, I think the show also does a good job of like showing that it's not necessary, because I wouldn't even. It's sort of. I mean, because it's a weird line to toe, because the show simultaneously is like very glamorous somehow, but it's also like horrible. Like you don't want to be like when you're watching the show, you're like, I don't want to live like any of these characters. This is horrible. Like all of them have terrible lives.
The characters, like you definitely see them like kind of have the consequences of their actions.
And it's not pretty. It's like ugly. Like they show like you know, it's like they're puking on themselves and like all this fucked up shit. Like you know what I mean, and like bloody and like it's not pulling any punches in terms of like the reality of like how dirty and ugly and whatever that stuff can be. But like you said, it is also glamorizing it. I watched a video recently of Russell Brand talking about that. I don't know if
I love Russell Brand.
Oh, okay.
No, but
he recently did I don't like, I'm not super familiar with like, I know he has like a podcast or like a bunch of stuff, but he did a video where he was talking about Euphoria in general, and he was saying like, I haven't really watched it, but he went and like watched a couple scenes or whatever, because Dare, I don't know if you saw this, but Dare, the Dare program, put up like an open letter or whatever talking about how bad the glamorization of drugs is on Euphoria specifically. Like they called out the show Euphoria for that. And he read that, and then he was like, let's talk about whether or not I think, you know, that it is actually a problem or whatever. And I think his point was a pretty good one. And that was that he was like, you know, yeah, I mean, there is like an element of glamour in this or whatever, but he's like, he's like, first of all, like, the element of glamour is anything that's on media, like anything that's in media.
Euphoria is not the only show that does that.
By the way. Exactly. And then another thing that he was saying was, he was like, it's not like anything that's in media has an element of glamour in it, and that's inescapable. But the other thing about it is that holy shit, I just like lost my train of thought. He was saying that everything has an element of glamour in it, but Euphoria in particular is just sort of reflecting what the society glamorizes in general. So he's like, what they're saying, like what they're showing in this show is it shows like this that are causing people to be drug addicts, or is it the fact that, or are we making shows like this because the society has created
it's just a reflection of what's going on. I mean, to an extent, obviously it's like a hyperbolic version.
Well, right, exactly, absolutely. And like, I mean, you know, and that's to make a point. You know, the reason why they do it that way is to make a point, but like
I have something to say after you're done.
I was going to say real quick, I mean, like, as far as like glamorizing goes, I'm not really a big believer in like kids doing things because of what they see on like TV or like video games and stuff like that. Like, I don't really think that happens as much as people say it does.
Be the Master Chief.
Yeah.
Right.
But it does.
That was such a visual gag.
I know. I'm sorry. I pointed out myself because I'm a big Master Chief guy. But it made me laugh. It does. It does kind of beg the question, like, what do kids think when they see this? You know what I mean? Like, that's
definitely.
But I don't know. Go. What was your thought?
Oh, I had a question for you, and then we'll move on because I want to talk about some music shit. I want to hear everyone's answer of like all the high schools in like LA and the Valley. What do you think is the closest to Euphoria High School? I'll go first, so you guys can have it. That I think it's Champs High School.
Champs, huh?
Yeah,
I've never heard of that high school.
Champs High School is actually right across the street from Van Nuys High School, like right across Van Nuys Boulevard.
Okay,
and it's not even a high school. Like, you know how high schools have like a building and like faculties and stuff like that. It's an office building, and all the kids that I knew there from, I did this program called Youth in Government in high school. That was like some Y program. And like all the fucking kids would just show up dressed like, okay, you know that one meme with it's all like the indie kids standing in a line and they're all like wearing black and like they're all wearing like Mary Janes. It was like they'd all roll up to these like youth and government meetings, like all looking like that. Like everyone looked like fucking like what was that, Birdie? Remember that? Birdie? She would do those like indie covers.
Yeah, I know you're talking about.
Or like Mac DeMarco and shit.
Wow,
it was like everyone was just high all the time. It was
interesting.
Crazy.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I don't know the cultures of a lot of different other high schools, but like I guess like my perception would have been something like El Camino, just because the only people I knew that went to El Camino all dropped out because they were drug addicts, and then the only other school I would say maybe would be like a Calabasas High or something.
I think that's a pretty good guess.
Yeah.
Calabasas is
probably.
Yeah, just because they have so much fucking money.
Yeah.
You know, and like nothing to do, probably.
Yeah. What do you think, Andrea?
I'm trying to think. I mean, again, kind of like JD, I'm not really sure what other schools were like besides El Camino. But I mean, I think about like El Camino had this secondary school called Migueliones. And I feel like a lot of kids in Migueliones, because, you know, when you're not doing well at El Camino, they kind of like send you to this secondary school where it's kind of a little bit more relaxed, I guess.
It's a continuation school,
right?
Yeah. It's called. So it's like,
It's
and
like I know a couple people that went there, and I felt like it was like a whole other fucking world. Like people were friends with the teachers, and like you could take like African drum classes there, and I was like, damn, like what's going on over there? So I feel
how
like
to roll blunt 101.
Right, exactly.
Professor White's there.
Professor White's.
All right, kids.
Settle in here.
Someone
so you're gonna want to lick this. That sounded sexual. Someone lick this Dutch for me.
Start taking the guts out of this Dutch right now.
Y'all bring your razors. Great.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So, what do you guys? What's new? What do you guys work? Do you have anything in the works? Are you guys allowed to talk about what you're working on right now? You can be guys.
Yeah.
We're allowed to talk about whatever we want to.
Yeah, definitely.
Sorry, there may be some laps I fucked up and pressed the space bar and stopped the recording. This is why I don't produce or engineer any of our sessions. I'm not allowed near the laptop or the keyboard. What are you guys working on?
Oh shit.
You can go. I can go. It's up to you.
Well, we've been pretty immersed in this debut EP
nice
of mine. Started working on it like November of last year.
Something like that.
We went on this kind of similar to you guys, this like writing retreat.
Nice.
But it was purely just for like writing new content, like not really specifically for the EP, but like we came back with a shit ton of really good ideas. And ever since then, just kind of been narrowing it down to like a few songs to choose from. We're thinking it's gonna like turn out to be like a 5-song EP.
Yeah.
Nice.
But yeah, hopefully that'll be
that's exciting.
Excited to hear that.
Yeah.
No,
I'm
it's exciting.
super excited to, get new music out. I feel like it's gonna be, really different and like an evolution from what I've already put out. And JD is going to be executive producing the project.
Yes,
it's
daddy.
Nice. So how was your guys', where did you guys go for this? Did you say, was it Big Bear that you guys went for this thing? Okay, nice.
Yeah.
And how did you guys like that experience, like other than just like recording?
It's amazing.
Oh my gosh. It was like,
great.
it was like nothing I've ever done before. It was, I don't know. We went with, how many people came? It was like 8 people.
Yeah, it was 8 of us.
Damn.
I think it was 8 of us total.
Was it a big Airbnb?
No, it was really small actually, but it worked out.
Some people had to sleep on like
the floor and couches
and like a makeshift like little mattress.
Yeah, it had like 2 or 3 bedrooms, I think. It work. Thankfully there were 2 couples.
Oh, good.
So we were able to share.
Who was the other couple?
Jackson, who's a producer engineer that is working on the project as well, and his girlfriend Nikki, who was like just documenting like photographs and videos.
Oh, nice.
But we stayed at the Storybook Chalet, and if you ever go,
a little plug.
Sounds cute. Yeah,
if you ever go, it's so cute. Like I'll try to describe it to you. It's like it's like out of a fucking Disney movie. It's like a green like cottage looking house, and like
it's a cabin. It's like a little like
it's super
looks fake.
The houses
like it's
are
not
really
a real
weird
place.
though. They're like super narrow. Like the house goes like I don't know. It looks small,
like a shotgun house,
outside.
kind of. Like you know what that is?
No.
Why is it always guns with you?
That's what you call it. Go ahead, continue.
It was really cute though, and it was super fun. We pretty much worked on music like every day that we were there for 5 days.
Nice.
And we moved some furniture around. We brought a table.
Yes.
We like kind of.
That's what we forgot to bring the table, bro.
Oh, really? Did you make it work though?
Edwin. We wish the only thing is like we ended up using like my 2-tier keyboard stand to like make a makeshift table out of like one of the floor panels of Neil's van. It was it was so weird. We really made it work, but it was an oversight on our part.
That's how you gotta do it though.
Live and learn. Yeah,
I mean, it's always tough too when you don't know exactly the layout of the place or like how the real dimensions, like
what they're gonna have.
Exactly. So for us, it was a similar thing. We brought a table because we knew we wanted to have 2 setups. Like that was the main.
Yeah, that's so funny. We talked about doing for like someone could track like some shit over here.
Yeah,
and like while someone's doing that, like someone could work over here.
Because we were going without like material ahead of time.
Yeah,
it was all just to write new material from scratch.
Right.
You know, it wasn't like we had specific things we knew we needed to track or whatever. So the idea, so the whole like trip was an idea that I had sort of had kind of brewing for a long time, just based on, things I had romanticized from before, like watching like documentaries of people working on their albums and stuff, and like,
going somewhere where you can just sessions.
Exactly. Getting away together or whatever. And like, so I've always like dreamt about like going like to a house in the woods or something with like a group of people and just working on a bunch of shit. Right. And, so it was like, this was the first opportunity we had where it's like realistic. We could do this. We could kind of do something similar to that. So we had a whole like thing set up, I had come up with all these like rules and different things. So like, for one, it was one of the things was going to be 2 rooms because I thought like, I just figured like normally when I do sessions, with people, the sort of the energy is contagious, when you're in the room. So if you're working on a song, like so often we hit a wall and everybody hits the wall sort of at the same time. A little bit. Like, sometimes
it can be good or bad.
Yeah. And sometimes you hit a wall and then the person next to you, has a new idea and it keeps going and it sort of bounces off each other like that for a while. And then eventually you hit a point where everybody's just tired or burned out from this thing. And then that's when like, usually you feel that thing where it starts to get a little quiet. The song's just kind of playing over and over, and you're sitting there, and then someone maybe is like, "Should we work on something else?" Or like, or should we go get food or like whatever? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's always, which is, you shouldn't be trying to force it necessarily. Right. But in my mind, I was like, well, if we have 2 rooms, if you start to feel yourself hitting a wall individually, and you're like, I don't feel like there's anything else I can add to this or I can contribute to this, you just go into the other room and see what they're doing. And then if they're doing something that like immediately brings up new ideas for you, then you can just jump in there and sort of keep bouncing back and forth that way and kind of keep the energy like always moving, as opposed to just having this stagnant sort of like, we're all here, we're all working on the same thing, and we're all going to be moving forward or backward together,
That's good. That's great.
Yeah. And it worked out, honestly. It worked out really, really well. One of the setups was a lot smaller than the other one, but because everyone that came brought a lot of stuff. Like we had like a lot of really cool equipment.
Why not have everything at your
disposal?
disposal?
Had different skills. There were producers, and there were also like guitar, like plenty of guitar players.
Yeah. There were a few guitar players.
Fahim.
Yeah, so Roger Holloway, who's a producer, guitar, bass player, like multiple, shredder. Like multi-instrumentalist. Yeah, very, very talented. Fahim, who's obviously incredible guitarist and bass player. John, who plays keys and drums, but we didn't bring any drums. And then our friend Austin Geller, who's an incredible like film composer and and producer who brought like so he in general like can just program strings that are incredible, sound like real like live strings. Nice. And brought a Prophet synthesizer with him.
Ooh, sweet. Dude, a fucking music comp person with a Prophet is like
no, it was
makes me melt.
It was amazing, yeah. And then Jackson, who's an incredible engineer, producer, and just multi-instrumentalist, also plays guitar, drums, bass, and stuff. And then Andrea and I. So, you know, all of us bouncing back and forth. And in one room, it was like a 2-tier synth thing with synths running through like a bunch of guitar pedals, and then like a glockenspiel like mic'd up. Nice. And then like you know, its own set of like
actual glockenspiel.
Yeah, like
damn,
there. And then
you really brought everything.
Yeah, well, the guy, the composer brought that too, Geller. Nice. And then you know, an acoustic, an electric, and a bass guitar in there with its own setup, everything. And then in the other room, it was like, you know, a bunch of other stuff. You know what I mean? Like a different synthesizer and like a MIDI keyboard and you know, guitar, bass, whatever, and different pedals and stuff. So it's like, when you go in the other room, you have a whole nother set of like things that you can do, and it was just cool. It was cool going back and forth.
That's
like
crazy.
that.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So that was one of the things, and then a few of the other things that we did was like we had like a wake up time. Everybody had to wake up at the same time.
Yeah.
And we all had breakfast. We would make breakfast and then have breakfast
Everyone
together.
Eats together.
Yep. Exactly. Nice. And then we would go out for like a little bit, just like go on a walk or sometimes play.
That's something I think so far it's sounding almost exactly similar, except because we were recording, everything kind of needed to be streamlined. There was like, I think everyone was just kind of in the room the whole time.
Right.
But the one thing that we kind of wished, like towards the end of the trip was like, it was great to be out here and like record. It was such a beautiful experience, but we just kind of didn't get to experience like and enjoy the nature for whatever.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and you know, part of it is that you're out there for that reason.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
You know that you're kind of gonna you know, you're not on vacation.
Yeah, like
you're
the point of going out there is to like get everybody to kind of like, you know, not worry about like that thing that's happening later tonight and like you know, whatever.
Exactly.
It's like everybody's there and they're focused on one purpose. And it's you know, I don't know. It was very different from how I've ever written before, and I feel like we came back. I don't know. Everything that we made, I mean, was so like it was all different, but it was like kind of unified.
Well, and that was the thing too. Like because it was, and you know, it can always be different, but because we were going and everything we were working on was for Andrea 100%. Like everyone knew going in, like we're working on this thing. And we had a very specific idea, Andrea and I, of what sort of the general vibe of what we were trying to work on was. Right. So we did a lot of stuff to try and set that vibe. So like, for example, first off, just the choice to go to a cabin, first of all, was like one of those things like that is part of the vibe is like, we want this sort of woody, more natural, organic kind of vibe. We brought lights. We brought like all these warm lights because I was like, I don't want white lighting in there. Like I knew that going in. I was like, I want warm lighting. I want candles. I want the fireplace. I want all these kinds of things to just set that vibe. We had brought like things for scents. We brought like we went and bought specific. Like smelled a bunch of different incense and chose a specific one. Yeah, and then made playlists of music that was all the like not even necessarily like this is what we're trying to make per se, but it's just to set this particular vibe. Yeah. And every morning I'd wake everybody up with a speaker playing those playlists, and we'd eat breakfast to that. And then we downloaded a list of movies that were all of that vibe as well, and we'd have those playing in the background as we were working on just as much as we could to get people in.
Sounds like you guys are making a cult.
Sign me up, bro. I'll drink that Kool-Aid. That sounds fucking rad. I mean, it's so that's cool. I feel like I'm learning a little bit from some of this stuff. Like,
I like those ideas a lot.
I want to do it again. And I want to go back to the same place where we went. Honestly,
was there like a name for the house that you guys went?
I'll just send you the link, bro.
I want to see it. Please. We stayed in Yosemite once for like it was for someone's birthday, and we stayed in like a really fucking
nice cabin. Really
they
fucking
have like.
Cool.
Next time you're out there, I think that's what I would want to do. I differently, it's like go like a lot one day for like exploring, and finding inspiration in nature, and stuff. Because I mean, you're driving all the way out there. It was like a 4-hour drive, right?
To
Yosemite.
Yeah, it was like 4.5-ish, 4:45.
Another thing I didn't really anticipate though that I think was like
dude. I was like, sorry. Dude. Cracks me up.
One thing that I didn't anticipate and that I kind of figured when I got there was that like I had thought before like I would want to do this for like a month or something. Like I'd want to.
Oh my God, without a doubt.
And I've said that, but then when we went, I started thinking like, shit, like I feel like after a certain amount of time, like you kind of start to feel stuck a little bit. Like
right. I don't think you can. I don't think you can be that creative for that long.
Yeah,
right?
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, it seems like, oh, we went for 5 days and it was like the vibe was great those 5 days. But then I started thinking, I was like, fuck, I don't think that would last. Like after a certain amount of time, I feel like, especially with everybody there.
I wish we had. I do wish because we did 4 days, and I do wish we had one more.
Right.
Just because now that we're back, we're still tracking, and I'm sure you. I mean, you guys. It was a writing session, so you're still like have plenty. It's like a lot ahead of you. But I wish we had one more day. But there's also something to be said about that time constraint, that discomfort. It really kind of forces you. Like, look, you gotta put something down. You gotta figure it out. Like, or you gotta get your part down, or else like it's gonna take how much longer till we can get together when we get back.
Sure.
And so it's really, there's something to be said about like, well, a phrase that we keep saying is like friction makes the fire. So like when you're kind of put in those tight spaces, it's either like do or die, and obviously everyone's trying to do it. So.
Yeah. Well, one thing we haven't done is gone on a trip like this and like with music and say like to track certain things, like specific things. We went with nothing, and it was like a lot, easier, I guess you could say, because it was just like, well, just make stuff, like whatever. Like, and the whole time I kept telling everybody was like, don't worry, like don't think about it, just go, just like make shit. If you don't have any more ideas, then go to the other room. But if you have an idea, do it.
With like, instrumentals, by the way, like I had gone out there and like written like a couple, or I think I just like written a couple melody ideas for some of the beats, but we came back with a lot of
we came back with pretty much mostly just like what we call song starters, which are just like sometimes
little things.
Yeah, it's just like a little like chord progression with a bass line and a drum beat, maybe.
It's just just a groove is all you need to get started. That brings up a great question. I'm super curious as to your like your melody and lyric writing process. Like, what is that for you? Because I know it's super different for everybody.
Yeah. It is different a lot of the time, and like I feel like I've been exploring new ways of writing as of like last year. The way that I've always kind of done it and I've relied on time and time again is just like writing the melody and the lyrics kind of at the same time.
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah.
Because you're not just gonna be like,
exactly. But I mean, that's how
just fucking animal cry. Sorry.
Anyways. Yeah, but I was gonna say actually like, ever since I've like started working with JD, it's kind of challenged me to write in a different way.
Right.
So, like Right Where You Like is a perfect example of like, he came to me with the beat first, and normally how it's done, like with my first song, Tenant, I wrote it on guitar.
It's a completed song before we started
with like lyrics and
lyrics, melody, and chords.
It was just like me.
She wrote those all by
herself.
I fucking love that song. I cannot tell you how many times I've listened to that song.
Aww,
The Makings of Me Were Built for the Two of Us is one of the hardest fucking lines I've ever heard. Continue. Sorry.
You. No, but Tenant was written kind of like in that way that I was used to, and funny enough, Right Where You Like samples Tenant. So
really,
yeah,
where?
Yeah. Well, that the like main sample that the song is built around, that's like that like vocal thing. It's Tenant chopped and sped up.
See, did you hear that right now? How she was just singing that, and it's the actual pitch of the song. Yeah. And it was like the tone.
Wait, really? I don't know.
Yes, right it was. I'm sick of you.
I do not have perfect pitch, so that was a guess.
That's a lie.
Fucking bold-faced liar.
But Right Where You Like, he came to me with the beat, and we actually wrote that song together. Like, he helped me figure out, like, the melodies. And so what we'll normally do with a beat, and what we've kind of done a lot, like, for some of this EP, we've had to do it because we're starting with, like, a lot of beat starters. Is he'll normally, like, I don't know, maybe you can describe this process a little bit better, and then I can explain how I write over it.
Well, I mean, I think we do. There's a couple different ways that we'll try things. But because her method which that's always like the best, like that's like the ideal method, I think, is when, because I feel like the best songs end up coming that way, is when I'm never there. Like, it's like she comes to me and is like, I have this song now.
It's so vulnerable, and dude. Writing lyrics is like...
Well, you're right, absolutely. But also, like, the fact, like, the thing that we have, I guess, to say, like, that we, like, why we work together well is because we can be vulnerable around each other.
True.
And we do, like, I'll get into that in a second. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, first and foremost, like, ideally what, the songs would be written like is that she just gets a strike of lightning of, like, which will happen. She's just playing guitar, and she, she'll be by herself. She'll be playing guitar, and then something will like just get her attention that she's playing a certain chord progression or melody or whatever, and then it just kind of pours out of her.
Yeah,
and then by the end of that little 2-hour session or whatever, she has a whole song, lyrics and everything, right? So then she'll come to me and show me that, and that's like what happened with Tenet. What?
Couldn't be me, bro.
No, I mean, me neither. I don't write like that. I can't do that.
Everyone's been yelling at me every day to write lyrics.
I can't do it either. But
it's hard.
So when but the thing is that's great when you don't have like deadlines and stuff, because that you can't plan that. We've learned that as time has gone on. It's like she said, Tenet was written that way. She just kind of came one day and was like, I have this song, and that was great. And it was like, wow, this song's amazing. So
we were sitting on it a year before it came out.
Sure. And like, once we started releasing music and we're like, we need more music, we started realizing like we can't just like wait. We can't just be like sitting here like waiting for that, like, every whatever. So because also like, we could even tell her like play guitar more often, or like just sit there every day and do it. And it's like, but you can't. It's like inspiration just has to like hit you. It's like
to flow out.
It's different. Yeah,
I
you
will
can't
say for me,
it.
like unless you do have to sit and like,
of course,
play guitar or like do whatever it is that you need to do like more frequently.
Yeah.
Or else like that shit's not gonna come. Like for me, like it's usually just, like if I'm practicing, which I haven't been practicing a lot lately, just because we've been doing this so much. But it's like I'll be doing something and I'll just like hear something and be like, that's cool. Interesting, and then like we'll go out, or I'll
absolutely
go out for that. But
I mean, I guess what I meant is like it's not always like a 1-to-1 thing. Like in the sense that like, oh, I that other song I wrote because I was playing guitar 1 hour a day. So if I play guitar 6 hours a day, does that mean I'll write 6 songs a day? It's like no, that's not how it works.
That's exactly how it works.
Yeah. So because of that, I'll say like because of the necessity of like, well, we should try to write more songs. We should try different things.
Yeah. We
sort of developed other methods, and those methods are like, which is like she's saying, write where you like, came out of this other method, which was like when we have a beat or a chord progression or something that we like, but that wasn't this thing that just immediately made her like pour out this idea.
Right.
It's like, well, what do we do now? Like, what do we have now that she's, it's not just coming right out. So what I'll do is like, I'll sort of have these little experiments with how she records on it. Like, first off, I'll just have her freestyle. Like, she'll just sing for 5 minutes, like whatever comes to her mind. Right Where You Like, this was what specifically it was. We had the beat, and I looped the beat for like 5 minutes. She sang on it, like just literally whatever came to her mind, like boom, 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 for 5 minutes. And it was there were words, but it was sort of whatever. It was gibberish.
How are you gonna write lyrics?
Yeah, exactly. And then I go through and listen to that, and I'll find moments that I'm like, that's a cool melody, that's a cool little melody, that's a cool moment. And sometimes even I'm thinking like, this sounds like a chorus, or this sounds like a verse,
like Frankenstein,
or this sounds whatever.
That's pretty cool.
And then I chop it up and I put it together, and it sounds weird because it's like, I'll even chop like moments, like a word of this and a word of that.
He'll like pitch a note.
Yeah. Or I'll be like, oh, this melody should end here. I hear this thing. Yeah. And then I'll like pitch it and whatever. And then so now I have this weird Frankenstein thing that sounds like a...
Do you guys have any like recordings of what that sounds like? I would love to hear that.
Yes.
So it's yeah, I mean, we just recently...
that probably sounds like Animal Crossing, I bet, a little bit.
I mean, we even have an example.
Yeah, I was going to say,
that we wrote
did recently,
last week. It's like...
It's still in that state right now of like, it's just the chopped up freestyle.
Oh yeah, show me, I want to hear that.
But so then we hear that, and obviously she's listening as it's happening, so she'll be like, oh no, I don't like that, or I do like that, or whatever. But when we're both in agreement, like this is cool, we have like a verse, pre-chorus, chorus or something, let's say. And it's like, okay, this sounds cool. Now let's put words to this, and you sing this now as if this is what you meant to sing the whole time.
Yeah.
So then...
Like that's interesting.
We'll like loop the sections.
That's pretty sick.
And then just like sit there together, usually, and like write write the lyrics.
Yeah. So and oftentimes in that moment, we're just trying to get lyrics just to get the words, just to have some words.
Right.
And we're like, we could always come back and rewrite those lyrics if we want to.
No pressure.
But so like with Write Where You Like,
it's just to put it down.
We were like, we came up with this idea, like we're like, oh, this would be funny. Like let's write about, well, I forget what it was, but whatever. It was like song.
It was about the original lyrics were about like someone who really likes somebody and is not getting the signs that they're totally not into them.
So it's like a love song where you're saying like, oh my God, I love how you like ignore my phone calls something like that. You know what I mean? Yeah. But it's like the person's so in love that they don't even realize that everything they're saying is like the person's not into you. So we thought that was hilarious because the song, when we initially wrote it, we were like, we could put this on like TikTok or something. We weren't going to release it. It was like a funny thing. Yeah. And then, so we wrote those lyrics quickly. And then, whatever. And then she recorded that. And it's like, okay, now we have like a little song. And then later on, we decided like, no, we're going to make it a full song and all this stuff. Then we were like, okay, what do we really want to write about? And then we literally sat there, and we've done this a few times now, where we'll sit there each with a notebook, playing the song on repeat, and separately we'll write we'll talk about what we want the song to be about, and it's usually just stuff that's going on with her. It's like her life, or whatever. And the fact that we're, in a relationship and we're so close and that we lived together for a long time and stuff, like kind of helps me be able to write, from her perspective because because I'm just so on the inside of a lot of how she's feeling and stuff through a lot of these experiences. So we'll talk about like, oh, we're going to write this about this particular thing that happened or this thing or whatever. And so we have the concept, we sit separately listening to it on loop, and then we write a bunch of random stuff, and then we'll be like, oh, I have something. I'll be like, I have like a
form.
Yeah, I'll be like, I have the verse, and then I'll tell it to her, and she'll be like, I don't like that, or I like those two lines. I don't like that.
I was going to ask, are you guys ever just like, that's trash?
Absolutely.
Oh yeah. Now
I mean,
that
not
I think
like
about
that.
Now that I think about it, like JD pretty much wrote like 70% of the lyrics for Write Where You Like.
Really?
Yeah, he wrote most of them.
I might have, yeah.
You did.
Oh, by the way, if you're listening and you haven't heard these guys, you got to look up Andrea Chahayed. Can you spell your last name for me?
Yeah, it's Chahayed.
Pause this. Go listen to all of her music and all of Swoon's music, and then come back.
Yeah.
You should have done that before this episode.
Yeah, you fucking idiot.
Thank you.
But yeah, but in that, when we're in that process, there's no like, I mean, I'd say there's no ego. I mean, obviously that sounds like perfect. And it's like, there is ego obviously in the room. Sometimes, we do get a little bit like hurt, like, damn, like I thought that was a good idea, or whatever. But like, and so, but really what that manifests as is like, you're quiet for a little while because you're just
right.
Damn.
But then you kind of have to get over it or whatever. But at the end of the day,
right before this, I tried like doing it by myself. I tried
right before this.
Right before this, we have like a new beat that we want to try writing for the EP.
Right.
I tried sitting down by myself and like writing without you, which I don't know. I couldn't.
When it's this process, it's usually the two of us. It's not.
I don't know why. It's like it's easier writing with someone else for these kind of things. But like, I think it was like a month ago. I wrote a song. Kind of randomly. I pooped that out in like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
I thought you were gonna say I was pooping.
Yeah, and, great place to write songs about.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
But that song that I had like a strike of inspiration. It happened so quickly.
Yeah.
And it was probably one of my like favorite things that I've written lyrically as of recently.
Those tend to be my favorites too. Like, and so
that's the best when that happens, is when it just all comes out.
Yeah,
you don't have to like sit and think about it.
It feels effortless.
We literally just like I don't know. We decided this has to be on the EP.
That's always what we're looking for.
Yeah.
Like the thing that we're looking for the most in the songs is like that it feels effortless. Like, which it doesn't. It a lot of the time it isn't effortless, but it always feels the best when it is. So like we're trying to do that as much as we can, but then realistically, because this is a career, it's like, well, you need to just make it happen one way or another. So we have like fallback things in case that doesn't happen.
Right.
But and then the other thing is it doesn't always translate to, like I sometimes will get these like theories of like the ones that are the most effortless, like will always be the ones that connect the most to like fans or whatever, or to like audiences or whatever that is. But it's just not, there's no way to know that. Like, Write Where You Like we weren't going to release that song. Like Tenet was like that. Tenet was an effortless song. We put it together and it was great. I mean, it wasn't effortless in terms of finishing it, but like, or producing it or whatever. But the song itself, it was all there already. It's like the cool thing about me coming into this as a producer, because I never really had a lot of experience producing for other people before Andrea. I was always just doing my own music, my own solo music, producing that. And so going into this, the difference was that I was like, my job now as a producer, as opposed to my own music, is not to make this good. It's already good. It's to not fuck it up. It's to like finish producing it and not get in its way. Right. You know what I mean? Like let it continue to be great.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like all I can do is make it worse. So like let me just not make it worse.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
You know what I mean? So but it's definitely not to make it good because it already is. So those songs always feel like that. But then with Right Where You Like, it wasn't like that at all. It was like I made this beat that was really cool, and then we Frankenstein together these vocals and stuff. So then I even had doubts when we were going to release it. Like at first I was like, I don't even know if we should release it. Yeah. And then we were gonna, because people's reaction was great and Andrea really loved it. So I was like, okay, yeah, whatever. And I had doubts because it didn't come that way. It wasn't so effortless or whatever. I wasn't even really sure. Like, I don't know. I was so in it, I guess, that I
like
didn't
in your
have...
head at that point. Kind of like,
exactly.
It's honestly just
I had no perspective.
We release anything. It's
and
like
then...
You're about to put something onto the... to submit it, and I'm just like, I don't know if we should do this.
Well, right. But then it was like...
fully mastered. I'm like, maybe this is...
I know.
Fuck, bro.
But to this day, like, that and Tenet are the two songs that have connected the most in terms of just people being really excited and giving and messaging us and all this stuff. And it's like... I don't know. That was a surprise to me because I was like, oh shit, like, you know, like it goes to show you, I guess, that there, you know, no matter how you do it, like, you know, you, on one hand, it can, or to you, and behind the scenes, it can feel one way or feel the other way, but it's like the song will just do what it does.
There's no
like,
formula.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's why
there's no right or wrong way.
I felt even silly asking you like how you thought it came together, because it's like, well, it's like we can do it this way, but there's also like 15 other ways that we do it, and we've found success with each way.
I'm always in. I mean, I was gonna ask you, and I will right now. Like, you know, I'm interested in how you guys do it as well, and in general, like I'm always interested in how people do it, not because it's necessarily one way is better than the other or whatever, but sometimes, like, I've definitely heard, like, people in interviews say, like, oh, you know, I try this or I do this thing. And I'm like, that's interesting. I want to try that just to see what happens. Like, see if it works or not. You might as well, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you might end up with something cool.
Yeah. Well, I mirror Andrea in the fact that, like, whenever I'm writing lyrics, it's typically I'm writing lyrics and melody at the same time because that's just, I think that feels natural for a lot.
Do you start with, like, the idea of what you want to write about? Like, what you're trying to say?
Well, what I'll do is I'll kind of, like, usually it's, like, I'll be just sitting in my, you know, I'll put a loop on of like a verse, like whatever segment of the song I've deemed to be the verse. And I'll just like, I'll put that on loop, and then I'll just start kind of like, I'm not necessarily recording by myself, but I'll just put it on loop, and I'll just kind of like put headphones on, I'll sing into the mic, and I'll just kind of like think, you know, I'll just kind of start freestyling things for as long as it takes. And then
but it's like words, you're like saying things.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of the time I'm thinking of like the key, I'm thinking of the groove, I'm thinking about like, well, how am I feeling, like what emotion or like what topic is like this music kind of bringing to me and my experiences, and then I'll kind of go off of that. Sometimes it's not even about a real thing. Like I'll tell a story that's not real. I'll tell a fable, you know what I mean? I've like fucking Smell the Rose is about a one night stand. I've been with 2 women in my life. You know what I mean? It's it's not.
I totally relate to that. That's how I used to write. Like I remember I used to write about like breakups in high school, and I had never had a boyfriend in my life. You know, I was like living vicariously through my friends and shit. But sometimes it's like interesting to write that way, to like like I've written a lot about situations that I've been in with other people, but from their perspective, like imagining what their end of the story might seem like.
Exactly.
Interesting, but
that's crazy. Like, so do you ever like go back and like rewrite lyrics and like stuff like
all
that?
The time. All the time. There's lyrics that,
because I was wondering like when you're doing that, like what you're saying when you're into the mic, like how fully formed is that when you record it right then and there?
Oh, it's sometimes,
you know what I mean?
Well, dude, like there's been songs where I've like fully like recorded like a demo version of like, okay, I think this is how like the vocal melodies have been, and I'm like, you know, like I might want to change some things here and there, and it's like if I play it in front of the guys and like I'm not seeing a very positive reaction, I'm like, all right, let's scratch it. And I've literally like scratched the entire like melody on something and like completely reworked it.
Sure.
And I wish like, I mean, that was less, I think, in the beginning. I think on the last record I did that with like Little Room was a really good example. Like Little Room was pretty trash before like before we have the version that's out now. But it's always different. I will say that like typically what I'm doing, and I've been doing this for like the past couple projects is like we'll like fully have like takes, like the takes for like a lot of the different instruments, like all the bass and guitar and drums are all tracked and like all the keys, and then I'm not like I don't even know what I'm gonna sing.
Wow, interesting.
Which I'm trying to get out of because we're finding now that a lot of like, I mean, it's the vocal melody, like it's a lot of what informs everything that's going on.
Absolutely.
So now that like not everything is super recorded, we're gonna start doing drums, but I've got a lot of work to do in like this next week. Of I really should like figure out what we're gonna do and get some demos down so that when we take Harry, or like when we go to the studio with Harry, like that he can play off my voice. You know what I mean? So that's something that I need to I think get better at, and like I think I need to be a little bit more experimental. I think like I'm learning a lot now in this conversation.
I'll say like for us, I mean, and this is in particular with Andrea, it's different for me with my music because I'm a producer. So like for me, I mean, you know, I like to think of myself as more than a producer in terms of like whatever I sing and I rap and I do other things in my music. But because I'm a producer, like the production is showcasing it's like an extension of my creativity always, right?
Yeah.
So on my album, I could have something that's like, because the production is great, you know, like that the vocals don't have to be you know, it could be an instrumental, let's say, right?
Exactly.
And like, not that anyone else couldn't, like not that you guys couldn't or whatever, but like, I think I get away with it, I guess, a little bit more easily, you know, or whatever. With Andrea, though, it's like, you know, we could do that too, but like, it's less, you know, likely, I guess, that we're going to put an instrumental or something like that on her project because she's a singer, like that's her thing. So anyway, I say all that to say, the way we tend to think about it is like, the most important thing is what we call, quote unquote, the song, which is like the melody and the chord progression together. Like her vocals are the song. So like when we left Big Bear, we had a bunch of instrumentals. It's like we don't have any songs. That's what we felt. We're like, we don't have songs. We have, you know, ideas. We have like instrumentals.
How weird is that for you to like be like last night even I was like low-key Edwin and I were like chirping at each other. He's like, when are you gonna get these lyrics? Like what's going on? And I was like, I have no time. Like we're doing all this stuff like as a band. Like I've written a lot of these songs. I'm not just like a singer, like you're like I'm a guitar player and like playing bass or like, you know, writing bass lines and do like I'm not just the singer. But it's interesting, like after that, like I was like, fuck, I'll write some fucking lyrics. And then I was like writing, and it's like, I can't write in front of these guys like that. Like, and Edwin and I can have a vocal session, like a lyric writing session.
Yeah.
Sure.
Because Edwin, as a producer, knows how to be like, so like, what's going on with you? He'll ask me questions like, when did you know that you fell in love with Hannah? You know, like, so, and I'll be like, damn, like that's a great question. I'll think.
I can
and, like,
just imagine him like asking you these questions, and
I already know he's had conversations. He's like, man, I just had this long ass conversation with Andrea, and I'm like, oh, you do that with her too? We're not special, like. You know what I mean?
Oh my god, yeah, no, he's a great like. He did a great job, like vocally engineering, sort of like, and you know,
producing.
And producing. Like it was a really cool experience. But in terms of like writing on top of these like ideas,
it's not gonna happen.
It's honestly like really difficult.
Sorry.
It's been difficult. Like for example, we had this one idea from the trip that we had written to maybe like a month ago now. And we've been sitting on it for a while, and it's like, shit, I kind of want to go back and change some of these ideas.
So the thing I think that, the point I was trying to make a second ago was that what we've realized is the best instrumentals don't always make the best songs when it comes to Andrea. And that's been a big, big realization that we made because like again, we left the trip and I was like, these 5, we had like 20 ideas, right? And I was like, these 5 like on their own are fucking amazing. I was like, these are so fucking cool. These are gonna make great songs. And then she tried to write over them, and it was like some of them just didn't
Yeah, we had that a couple times. Like I thought we put together a couple of like dope instrumentals that when we took to the band was kind of just like didn't really translate the same way.
Yeah.
It was
well, and then but even more specifically with the vocals, because like as far as I'm concerned, especially when I'm working with Andrea, I'm like, if the vocals don't work, if the vocals aren't fucking killing, then it's not gonna happen. Then it's just not. The instrumental could be amazing, but if the vocals aren't there, like then it's not gonna happen. So I like so even now, for example, when we do stuff where I start an idea. you know, again, not counting when she just shits out a great song, which is just happens every now and then. You know what I mean? That's kind of like that's like winning the lottery. You know what I mean? That's like the kind of thing where it's like we don't wait for that because it's like that's like winning the lottery. It just happens every now and then, and it's great. Oh, great, we have another amazing song or whatever.
You always have to.
But we have this sort of more structured thing that we do, and when we like over time, and this is a very recent thing that I've like. It's taken me a long time to get to this point to realize this, but like I don't put a lot into an instrumental until I know until I know there's something already there, like some kind of vocal thing. Because I've made the mistake before of like working really hard on an instrumental to make it really, really sick, and then she tries to write to it and it doesn't work, and then I'm like, fuck.
Sometimes it just doesn't work. You know?
And we have songs that we have like there's one song in particular, I'm not going to say which, but there's one song in particular that I'm thinking of that's like that like we made this instrumental, and the instrumental went through so much, and it was so cool.
Yeah.
And when we had so much trouble writing lyrics, and we had to force it because we were like we had already invested so much into the instrumental, and I hated that. I was like, I don't like this because we're trying to force this song, and we're only doing that because the instrumental took so much, which is not the way to do it. So recently, like one thing we did that we wrote to, and I'm saying all this just to say whoever's listening and to you, like I would recommend trying this at some point if you relate to anything of what I'm saying. And it's that like one thing that I did is I made one really simple drum beat, and then I made 3 different total like chord progression things. Like I like made the drum beat, and then I played a guitar thing. I like made a chord progression I thought was cool. Without her, she wasn't listening to any of this. She was like had her headphones on or whatever. And so I made one thing with the chord with like chords. I made a little bass line and maybe like a tiny little lead thing or some other kind of whatever, just to give it some depth. And I was like, cool, really quickly. Then I muted all that, kept the same drum beat, and I did another one, just a completely different chord progression with a different bass line, a different thing. I did 3 different ones. And then I gave her the headphones and the mic before I let her hear it even. And I was like, just sing. Just like, and I recorded her singing like for 5 minutes, like for the first time hearing it. And so she did that to all 3 ideas. And then we listened back to all of them. And 2 of them were really, really cool. And I was like, okay, now we can continue to work on these. Like I'll scrap all these recordings now, like in terms of like what I recorded on guitar or whatever. We can turn this into anything. Like I could, you know, I wrote these on guitar, but these could be piano ballads if we want them to, or whatever.
That's pretty
you know what I
interesting.
mean?
I've never heard of that.
That's
like,
that's really cool. I feel like you're always definitely searching. Like I feel like that's a mark of a really good producer is like someone that's just like willing to kind of just like have these like weird little experiments. Whether it's like sometimes it's not even about like it's not even musical. It's kind of like why do like 5 push-ups and then like just sing something or then like write a bass line or like you know whatever like Edwin's never done that. I've never I've done it, but
I've never done that either. But it is psychological though, because like when you're especially as a singer and as a songwriter, it's like your instincts are like everything. You know what I mean? Because like it's like when you were saying, like when you write and you just put a microphone in front of you, you're going to start singing into the mic and recording. Like you're only as good as whatever just shits out of you, whatever just comes out of you in that moment. Like you know what I mean? Sorry, we keep saying shitting.
Everyone's pooping.
But like I know pooping analogies with songwriting.
But you know what I mean? Though, like
don't get me started.
Your instinct is everything. Like that's what your song is going to be, is whatever your instinct ends up being. So my thing that I'm always trying to do is like put her in different headspaces or different environments to sort of be like, how does this affect your instincts? You know what I mean? Like, or another thing, sorry, I'm like kind of going off now, but
it's a podcast.
Another thing that we've done before is like, let's say I make a pretty decent beat that has this very particular vibe. Like one thing that I try not to do is if we already have something that's a certain vibe, I'm like, okay, now let's add something to this that's not of that vibe at all. You know, so like we have this song now called Not Funk, or the working title is Not Funk, because we started making this beat that sounded like a funk thing, and then like Fahim was going to add guitar to it, and he started playing like a funky thing, and then I was like literally this was in Big Bear, and I was asleep, and I woke up and I was like, no, don't do that. I was like, don't do that. I was like, I was like, the beat's already funky. Like, you don't have to be funky. Do something different. And then he did he played like some like weird emo kind of chords. Yeah. And then it made this really interesting thing. Yeah. Anyway, so I'm always trying to do that. So let's say I have a beat that's like super soulful or whatever, or like chords that are super soulful or whatever. I'll, instead of like playing that for her and being like, sing to this beat, because I know she's going to go in that direction. She's going to be trying to do some more soulful things. Like sometimes things, you know, you listen to a certain kind of instrumental and you're like, I have to sing like this. Because it's what you've heard before.
Right. Yeah.
You know, it's like I've heard all I've heard over these kinds of chords or over this kind of instrumental is this kind of singing. So you start doing an impression of what you think,
literally,
of what you think it needs to sound like. Yeah. So I'm like, I don't want that. So before I even let her hear it, I'll remove the chords and I'll just apply them to like a piano sound or something, like just straight. And then I'm like, sing on this in a different tempo.
Yeah,
you know,
you make it like bland, so that it's like,
so it's just whatever,
fully Andrea.
Exactly, it's just a canvas.
Strip it down.
You can do what you do over that, and now let me put what you did over what it really was going to be,
totally
and now it's this whole another thing, and then it's like, oh shit, I never would have sang like that over this. You know what I mean?
Have you been taking notes? What? Oh well, the podcast or the notes.
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
recorded.
You'll pitch.
I forget what we're doing.
You also like pitch stuff up and down.
Just anything. I mean, I guess the idea is just try all kinds of random shit because you can end up with something cool. I'm always trying to surprise ourselves, like, because I don't trust what I can actually, like, if you just sit me in front of a piano, like maybe I'll come up with something cool, but it's like difficult. I don't always trust that I can. But if you let me like do all these weird shit and like remove myself from it, suddenly something I did in this context, when I recontextualize it, is now cool. It wasn't cool before, but it is now because it's like not me almost. You know what I mean? Like that's what I'm trying to do a lot of the time, is like remove myself from the process a little, so that when I look at it, I'm like, holy shit, that's fucking cool. Like that little thing is awesome. It doesn't even feel like I made that. It feels like it just happened and that's right there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's always like what I'm trying to get at, sort of.
That's dope.
That's fucking beautiful.
What a couple of ideas,
dude,
you got there.
This is honestly,
I'm just letting out all the game right now. Like all you guys can have.
Us the blueprint.
I know. We might have to delete.
I've never publicly fucking like told people this shit, but I don't care. I mean, it's
it's a share. It's
You've given us the goods,
dude. All this recording talk has made me think that maybe we should wrap this up and go upstairs and do some recording.
We've been going. Well, you guys want to plug yourselves real quick, like your socials, or like where we can listen to your music?
Plug your socials.
Sure thing. Go ahead,
I mean, all my socials should be under my name, Andrea Chahayed. Again, Andrea, and then Chahayed.
Yeah.
My TikTok is Undreadful. I mean, I don't.
I like that name.
I like it too.
It's ANDREADFUL. Yeah. But there's nothing on there. You just,
not yet.
My Instagram,
but follow her.
That's the producer.
I fucking hate TikTok.
I deleted it.
Being a content creator on TikTok. I love watching TikTok.
Right.
Sorry.
That's
Next.
cool. My name is Swoon, and my Instagram is Swoon Like You. That's pretty much all my socials, but I really only use Instagram. On Spotify, it's just Swoon, SWOON. It should be the first one. And I was just going to say, just also this year I have music coming out for the first time in 2 years. I'm going to drop solo music. Hopefully an EP sometime this year. That's going to be really exciting. And I'm going to start making the shift back into focusing on my own music and releasing that. So look out for that.
Nice. Let's go. Well, thanks a lot for joining us, guys.
Episode 3 of Can I Borrow Your Amp?
Yay.
See ya.
Bye.
Thanks for having us.